What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining D and myself for another edition of Ben and D in the morning. How you doing, D? You excited for the slate today?
Yeah, real excited. Real excited. I know we were just talking a little sleepy this morning, staying up last night watching that Colorado game. But yeah, excited for the slate today. We had came pretty close last night. Just had a just couldn't get there last night in the bigger tournament. Um, Missed out on one of the big pieces of it, so kind of hurt there. But yeah, I'm ready to get after it today and see what we can find here.
Yeah, we were talking about the slate earlier, and it's going to be a fun one because there's no real chalk. I mean, there's going to be chalk, but as far as ownership goes, it's going to be all spread out because the prices. That's probably the
Yeah.
best pricing we've seen so far this year. Which I mean, we enjoy because we hate just jamming in the chalk, which normally comes to bite us in the ass because a lot of chalk in college is good chalk, especially whenever it's mispriced. But no, we'll dig right in. We've been running pretty good. We're gonna try to take down the 333 on DraftKings today. I think it's 50K to first. So yeah, let's have a day. But big slate here. What is there? 12 games, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. 12 games.
All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. First game is Syracuse versus Florida State. It's a 55 over under, and Florida State's pretty big favorites here, minus 18 points. So I do think there's some good plays in here. Don't know how close Syracuse can keep it. I'm curious what your opinion on it is, but what do you think? Do you think a guy like Benson or a Coleman is in play today?
Yeah, definitely more GPP plays. I think kind of this whole game is it's last week we kind of had some Syracuse chalk fail a little bit, so I think that's going to take some ownership off them a little bit. But Schrader, the quarterback, we've seen some dual threat quarterbacks kind of give Florida State some problems, and so don't mind that. It's just tough this week, playing guys like that. This game just on a normal slate, I feel like it would get a little bit more love, but nothing too crazy for me on this one. Even in the running back Allen, probably been one of the most consistent running backs we've seen this year because even last week is considered a stinker, and I think he had 13 still in a game they just got blown out. So if you're playing single entry something like that, he's definitely more something you can kind of go at there. But 6'1", there's a lot of good running backs that I think have a little bit more upside in that range. So I'm not going to jam any of these guys in, but if you're making multiple teams, this could be definitely a little bit of a game stack because Florida State side got a little bit easier with Johnny Wilson being out. So I do think, Keon Coleman does become a really good play. The only problem is like they just have so many dudes at receiver as well. So it's hard to kind of pin down who would be the other guy. So I think if you are playing this, you just kind of you could go Travis with him and go Keon Coleman. I would lean that on the Florida State side instead of playing Benson because Benson had a huge game last week, but he still only played like 50% of the snaps. So it's one of those situations where, nothing's really changed for him to have that big game. It was just how the game flow kind of went, and it was just kind of him. So still just a tournament play. I think all these guys are just kind of tournament plays besides maybe Allen. I think he's, obviously kind of a safer play. Other than that, that's kind of where I'm looking at in this one.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of average yards per attempt do you have to get 200 yards off 11 attempts? That's
Yeah, yeah, you're breaking a few. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, no, I agree with you for the most part. The thing with Allen is, I mean, he has been great week in and week out, but it's just not every day we want to play 18-point underdog running backs for the opposing team.
yeah,
I know that.
that's kind of the big rule is like it's just so hard to imagine a running back getting there in that. I mean, he does catch some passes.
Yeah,
Um, and the thing is too, this is the most expensive he's been this year too. So we have been playing him, in the mid-5 range, stuff like that. So there's especially on a slate where you need every bit of salary you can kind of save. That 500 to 600 is a big difference in most weeks.
I do like Coleman, especially with Wilson out, but on this slate, I just don't know if
Yeah,
we're going to be. There might be a touchdown prop, something to throw in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can go ahead and move on. I
And I
don't think
think
there's a ton.
Coleman, I think we saw in the chat earlier they were talking. I think his props at like 67. I want to say his receiving prop. So I
Really.
think if you want to try to get something like that, I think I'd rather just maybe go towards the betting side on that.
Yeah, that and the score might be nice for a little parlay. We'll go ahead and move on. Not much to love. This game's a little bit better. It's Iowa State against Cincinnati. 43 over under. Cincinnati's -5 point favorites. I've seen some people talking about Emory Jones.
Yeah.
Pretty much his rushing floor. He's been getting there. I mean, I clicked on his game log. I seen that 50 against CKU, but we'll throw that out. Um, I skipped past that earlier. But what's your thoughts on Emory today? Think he's in play for cash? GPP going to be owned?
Yeah. I have seen some love for him. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like there's just some safer options. It's just going to be kind of an uglier game. I mean, he's just not a good quarterback. So you always kind of struggle when you do have some actually quality quarterbacks on the slate. It's hard for you to kind of play a guy like that, but he does give you some salary relief. I wish he was in the 6K range, make it a little bit more interesting to play. But I do think this game, normally you see Cincinnati and Iowa State. It's not one you gravitate to, but there's definitely some good plays here, some spots you can attack. Like I said, Emory Jones, even Kiner, the running back's in a good spot. Been pretty consistent, just hadn't found the end zone the last 2 weeks. And if he had, the game logs would be looking a lot different. So probably the price will be up as well. So the prices stay low. So I think I like Kiner a little bit more than Emory Jones in this one. And then and even with Emory Jones, you play him at quarterback. You don't necessarily have to play a receiver with him, especially with what other receivers we have on this slate. So, yeah, Kiner and Emory Jones on the Cincinnati side. And then Iowa State, earlier in the week, I wasn't as on it, but then I've kind of dug in a little bit more. And I do think there's some spots you can attack here. This Rocco Bichette quarterback, 5,300. If you're trying to stack up that Washington Oregon game, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, he's kind of a way you can get there. 5,300. The Jalen Noel is going to be a popular receiver at 5,100. It's had a few big games, been pretty consistent. So don't mind that play at all if you wanted to stack those two up and then just try to jam in, studs around them. So don't mind that at all. And then also the running back here, the Eli Sanders. Iowa State's running back room is always a little bit tricky. In the past few years, it seems like 1 week some guy goes off, and then the next week you don't even see him out there. So, I mean, you can even see in his game log, he's had 5, 15, 7, and 16 attempts. So it's kind of been a little bit all over the place. But at 4,400, some value we could use there. So I look at this game more as just try to fit some pieces in if you're wanting to try to jam some of the other guys in these other games.
Yeah, in reality, it feels like that's what a lot of this slate's going to be is just finding 2 or 3 pieces from these early games and stacking up the late games. I mean, Cincinnati, they struggle more through the air, right? Don't they give up a lot of passing yards, or is it?
Yeah, I mean they're not over. They're just not that good of a team defensively. So
Yeah, no, I'm looking at that Rocco card or the Rocco call. I kind of like that. We're gonna need,
but you gotta realize too that the weather's not going to be the best. And you're still dealing with a 40. You're dealing with a 42 total. So I wouldn't get too crazy in it. But if you want to jam a piece or two, I probably wouldn't have more than 2 pieces in this game. But at the same time, those 2 pieces could help you get some other stuff as well. So don't hate it.
No, I agree. But we'll go ahead and move on. Talk about your boys. We have Arkansas versus Bama. It's a 46 over under. Bama is 19.5 point favorites. So do you like anything from this game? I could see you throwing a couple pieces, but I personally just don't think Arkansas is very good.
Yeah.
I've been forced to watch them a few times this year, and man, I've not been impressed at all. But no, this is your team, and you know a ton about Arkansas, so I'm just going to let you take this from the start.
Yeah, I see you repping an Alabama shirt today, so I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe we need to be a little bit higher on it. But no, Arkansas's defense is just bad. They've not been able to stop anyone, and it definitely makes a guy like Jalen Milroe. I thought I swore him off earlier after watching the games and everything, but maybe I wish he's a tad cheaper, but I think he makes for a really good GPP play. Made some good throws last week in a big game against A&M. So if he can build off that performance, he's not going to have a game again where he has negative 31 rushing yards. That's just, he's a dual threat guy. So he had 23 fantasy points and had negative rushing yards. So easily that should have been closer to a 30-point performance. And he's always got a chance to find a rushing touchdown as well. So very interesting GPP play. The running back room is still something I'm just not wanting to attack. McClellan's the guy if you wanted to, but 6,300. He shares carries with Roydell Williams, and I keep waiting for them to kind of start bringing in the younger guy, Justice Haynes. So I do think at some point that's going to kind of be a thing. So I don't really want to attack the running backs there. If you do go Milroe, I do think you might want to pair up a receiver with him. Burton's come on strong here, and is definitely Milroe's favorite guy. Like they're buddies. They want to get things working, and they found a mismatch last week and just kept attacking it. So if that's the case again this week, Burton could have another big game. Burton or Bond would be my two favorite pairings. Probably, for salary reasons, Bond maybe a little bit just because he is if he catches one or two deep ones, it wouldn't be surprised at all. So don't hate that there. And Black's always a guy I'm going to mention just because he is an athletic tight end that 3,700, and I know he's one of your favorite guys as well, just because how you pronounce his name. But yeah, so that's kind of all it on the Bama side, because like I said, this Arkansas defense is bad. It's just going to be a matter if Alabama can jump up on them. I do think Alabama scores in the 30s this game. So there's going to be some touchdowns to be scored. It's just a matter of how they come, and if they come kind of late, and it might not be in the passing attack. So, and then Arkansas, not a whole lot here. Rocket Sanders, he's working back, but I don't want to play running backs against Alabama. They are decent against the. I wouldn't even say decent. They're pretty good against the run, the rush. So don't want to go there. The only play for Arkansas I am interested in is Ty Washington, and KJ Jefferson has all year just been peppering his tight ends with targets, and they lost their starting tight end in Haas for the season. And Ty Washington stepped in last week and just what he had 28.
Yeah, he was on.
So he makes and Alabama's struggled this year against tight ends, especially tight ends that because Ty Washington is built like a receiver. Not a huge dude in terms of weight, but like 6'4", built kind of like a receiver. So could definitely give some problems there, especially if they're going to be trailing. Should get plenty of targets. So he's one of my favorite values on the slate today, even though I hate going and playing guys against Alabama. But yeah, he's a very good value play. And then even I think Armstrong is in play, but just not anyone I'm going to go try to jam because you look at his game logs. He's been very, very consistent, kind of more of maybe of a cash play. But yeah, not a bad play there as well. And that's really it for this one.
Yeah, I don't hate the Milroe call though, because it's like you said, he easily should have had 30 last week. Man, it would just be hard to. He's gonna be so low on. It'd be hard to pay up a quarterback and not go, some of these guys in the later games. But don't mind that at all. This next game, it's Georgia versus Vandy. Georgia's huge favorites, I think 32.5. The spread's 55. I guess the first guy we talk about is Bowers. He's put up 3 games in a row with pretty much 30 plus. He's your cover guy. Is this game going to stay close enough to use him? And then go ahead and talk about Beck and I don't know, maybe a guy like McConkey. Anything from this game?
Yeah, this will be pretty quick. I don't even think the game really has to stay close. You're just going to try to hope that you get the Georgia touchdowns because they're going to score, and they're going to score quite a bit on Vandy. And I think I wrote an article about Georgia. They did this last year too. They're just super efficient, and you're just you're getting a very good team against a very bad team. So the points are going to be there. And Beck he's looked great the last few weeks. I think if this is a different slate, he would be more interesting. Like, maybe if it was like on the late slate or something like that. But it's going to be really hard to pay. 8-7 for Beck. And even more so, I think Bowers is more in play at 7-4, but it's just like, he's priced right between the two Washington receivers. So that's going to be tough because you got just a much better game environment for those two. So I do think Bowers will actually get some ownership. Nothing crazy, but I do think him and Beck make for a good, like if you're making if you're trying to attack that $20 one, the 100K to first one, you could, making multiple, you could throw a Beck and Bowers team in. But other than that, there's just not a whole lot to like here. And even the Vandy side, they were just priced up. I mean, they're not priced to kind of where they should be at to make it interesting to play. Because it's going to be a trailing script. So I mean, there are going to be some opportunities there, but it's not cheap enough to want to go there.
No, I agree. Sorry, you mentioned that $20 one. I know we got to make a team at the end of it. I went to go to reserve it. I forgot to do that. No, I don't hate
who even knows if that fills either. I don't know where it's at right now, but
there's still about 4,000 spots left.
Yeah, I feel like they run stuff like that in the past, and it's
I know.
Fills, but
yeah, I'm gonna see it when we get off the show and just keep hitting ad.
Yeah, that's where they get you.
But no, yeah, not much in this game for me. Don't think I'll land on Bowers. Honestly, Beck is interesting call. So you would take Milrow or Beck? Gun to your head.
Milrow.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, just because the rushing, Beck's not going to break off an 80-yard touchdown run, and Milrow has a chance to do that. So,
no, I couldn't agree more. Go ahead and move on to the next game. It's going to be, I guess, is it not? I didn't skip a game. Yeah, it looks like I did skip a game. Sorry about that. But it's going to be Indiana versus Michigan. Michigan's 33-point favorites. This game should be quick as well. I think I seen you said Corm is minus 650 to score a touchdown. The problem is at 8,400, I think you might need 2 or 3 touchdowns to pay off that big price tag. Honestly, out of this whole game, unless you're wanting to get wild with like a Roman Wilson, who I know you like, just in general. Anyway, we could play this Mullings for 3,800 for Michigan.
Yeah, I think he he definitely provides some value. He's the third guy, but at the same time, it's like Michigan should absolutely roll in this game. The weather is looking kind of rough for this one. I think there's going to be quite a bit of rain, kind of a nasty game, so that should play to the run. And that also can change kind of how the game flow goes sometimes. Sometimes you don't see as big of blowouts. So if you want to try to get a little bit cute and play Mullings, you can. Don't hate that. If he was, I think it'd be a little bit more enticing if he was like just flat 3K. But,
yeah.
But still, at 3K range, I mean, you've seen like what he can do in some mop-up time. But it's just like you're playing a guy that's you probably won't see until fourth quarter or so. And somehow the game does stay relatively close. We've seen Michigan have no problem, keep toting the rock with Corum. So definitely a riskier play, but don't hate it there. But yeah, I think Michigan's a 33 favorite. Yeah. So
Corum, any chance just a large foot GPP play, maybe that $20 one?
No, I don't think so. It's just too tough. I mean, you're just sacrificing so much to get him, and more of a and I don't even know if it's even more of a bet play at those odds. It's just like minus 650 to score touchdowns. Just it's tough.
Yeah, I don't really see any upside to going him outside of. I mean, yeah, he's probably a lock for 15, 16, 15 to 20 fantasy points, but 8,400, you really need that 30 point upside. What about your boy Jaden Lucas?
Yeah, nothing on the Indiana side.
Yeah, no. I just I know he
Michigan's
was.
just they're we're still not sure how good Michigan is. This is like this every year. I mean, they haven't played anyone yet, and the defense is going to be good though. I mean, it's always going to be one of the top in the country. So just no reason to do that on this slate. And if the weather was a little bit better, you could make a case for going JJ McCarthy and maybe a guy like Roman Wilson. But with the rain kind of added into it, just makes it just trying to get too cute with that.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that we don't know how good they are or not, we have Ohio State versus Purdue. Ohio State's 19-point favorites, 52 over under. How good is Ohio State?
It's a good question. I don't think we're going to find anything else out this week because we're already getting it's like this with every week. We think everything's good to go with Ohio State, and now Ibuka has already got rolled out. We got that last night. And now Travion Henderson, which I was actually getting kind of excited about playing this week because Purdue's rush defense is just absolutely terrible. It looks like he's now a game time decision. So if we get that news here, that could open up some stuff because I'm trying to see because that chip. Let's see. Yeah, I mean he's up to 5K. So, but I still think he would make for a good play if Henderson gets ruled out. Like I said, Purdue's rush defense is absolutely terrible, and they fed Chip last game, so wouldn't mind that at all. And it even looks like Mine Williams is not expected to play. I was reading the message boards earlier for Ohio State, trying to dig in a little bit, and that Dallin Hayden, the guy that played some last year, they're looking like they're trying to redshirt him, so he might not even get any action today too. So if Henderson gets ruled out and we get for sure Mine Williams, Chip Trayanum there is in a really good spot, even at 5K. So hopefully we get that news here in the next little bit, and we should. Normally when Henderson's been ruled out, because he's been ruled out, I feel like more games than he's played. We do get that news before kickoff. So we'll keep an eye on that in Discord, and if it news breaks here on the show, I'll update that. But other than that, looks like there was some concern for rain, but looks like it may come a little bit later. So I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is in play as well with Ibuka out. The targets are going to be insane. Purdue plays man-to-man defense, and which Marvin Harrison should just feast on. And he's actually the cheapest. Let me see. Yeah, the cheapest he's been. This is actually the second time he's been under 9K. So definitely thanks for pretty interesting tournament play, and one where you could easily get 30 or 30 or 40 points. The only other guy looks like Xavier Johnson is kind of supposed to be the guy that's stepping in for Ibuka's role. So you could take a stab there, but Ohio State has a lot of talented receivers that haven't even seen the field yet, so you never know how they're actually going to go with that. But don't hate that as well. And then Cade Stover's always a guy that tied in that could catch a few.
Yeah, the only guy that I have wrote down here that I was kind of looking into that you didn't mention is Tate at 4,800. But I mean, at that point, between him, Stover, and Johnson, I guess it's kind of all a toss up. Do you think Stover's probably the safest for sure, right?
Yeah, just because his role. His role is not going to change any. He will get a little boost with Ibuka out. But other than that, no. That's kind of where I'm looking at. And like I said, hopefully we get a little bit more clarification on who's in and who's out here in the next little bit.
So on the Purdue side, are you interested at all, like a Maccabee with this Tracy Jr. out? I mean, he gets all the work. He was pretty decent last year, if I remember correctly. And then maybe like a Bird receiver. Do you any way maybe if you run a Harrison that you run it back with one of these guys?
I definitely think you can. We've seen Ohio State, start off kind of slow in some of these games and kind of let some teams play around for a little bit. Excuse me. And so Maccabee's definitely a viable play. Like I said, that 52, that kind of 5,000 to 55 range has got some interesting running back plays, and he's definitely one of them there. So don't hate that at all. Even card at 5,200. It may be ugly, but you don't have to do a whole lot at 5,200. I mean, that's what 700 more than what men's salary is for a quarterback. So,
Yeah.
and and even going Burks with him. Burks is a guy that I feel like in the past Ohio State's kind of gave up some big games to players like him. He's more of a big play guy, could get loose, and
It's always
so if
so
he
hard to
caught
put the button, too.
yeah, and it's one of those things they could do it early, and then you might not see anything from him the rest of the game. But I mean, if he catches one long one and he gets you 15, 16 points, that could be what you need there. So definitely a GPP play there on the Purdue side, but I think all three of those guys are firmly in play. And thanks for a sneaky little game stack. I think you could even go. If we get Henderson out, you could go chip with Marvin Harrison and run it back with either Mockbee and Burks, or even go card, and because Mockbee's kind of more of a pass catching back as well. Like, he's involved with it, and they're all cheap enough to where you can make it work. So some interesting plays here could definitely change the landscape of how these tournaments play out if the game shoots out a little bit.
Yeah, I want to get this news on Henderson because the value is going to be huge on this slate if he ends up getting ruled out. Next game is going to be Cal versus Utah. It's not one of the sexier games. Looks like the over/under is sitting at 44. Utah's minus 11-point favorites. It looks like our boy Jackson's game time decision. If he's in, he has a good price at 5,600. And then tell me about. I haven't really looked into California at all this year. Maybe this Jaden Ott. Is he in play at all? Probably not at 8,200. But what's your overall thoughts on this game?
Yeah, not a whole lot here. Utah announced, I think, that Bryson Barnes is going to start. So he's more of a passing quarterback than what Nate Johnson was. So you could take a chance on maybe one of these receivers, but because they do get a boost with Barnes starting. But it's just one of these games that I don't know. Like, could there be a guy that go off in this game? Sure, but I'm just not. I don't have a whole lot of love in it. Jackson. I think Jackson would make for a good play if we knew he was full go. But man, even when he's healthy, I've played him and he gets hurt a couple times a game. So he's no one that I want to risk my money on. So if he did get ruled out, Jalen Glover makes for an interesting play because he should get all the carries. But even he's had games where he's had plenty of carries and not done a whole lot. So I don't know. This game is just not doing it for me.
Yeah, the only guy I have wrote down that we didn't really mention, and I know you talked about receivers for Utah, but anything for this Yasmin 3,800? Just I know values.
Yeah, did you say Yasmin?
Yeah, 3,800 for Utah, but he get a bump with.
Yeah, all receivers are going to get a bump with Barnes starting. So
okay.
Yeah, don't hate it. That's their it's their tight end. So yeah, if you're needing some value, don't hate it.
Yeah, just it's hard to go here with such a low total. It's college. If in games that under 50 total in college, you're really almost wasting your time outside of a cheap guy here.
Yeah, and that's another one too. We're not sure on that Cahuth, the other tight end. He was, arguably kind of one of the top tight ends coming in this year. He's yet to make his appearance. But if he's actually still not been ruled out for this game. So if he came back, I don't think you'd play him because I do think they'd work him in. And Utah's been very cautious with injuries this year. So yeah, if he is plays, I would take that Yasmin out of consideration too because it would just kind of muddy that tight end room.
Okay, no, that definitely makes sense. Getting into some of the better games now, we have Kansas versus Oklahoma State. It's a 54.5.
Yeah, 1 second.
Over under. Yeah, you're fine. And Kansas is minus 3-point favorites. So we have a big spread here. Looks like the game's supposed to stay close. Looks like Daniels is doubtful. Honestly, I think he can play Bean. I know last week didn't really work out in his favor. but I do think he has a little bit of upside here. Um, I know you're always high on Devin Neal. He got us there last week. I think he was the last piece to a big touchdown parlay we had that you sent out to everyone. So that's always good. Uh,
Hmm.
what do you think? You high on Neal again this week?
Yeah, not as much. I definitely he's definitely in play, um, but it's kind of like what I was saying with Ward earlier for Florida State. Um, or Ben, so I can't remember who, but anyway, it was just kind of like Neil didn't even start the game last week, which is just wild. So you just never know kind of what kind of production you're gonna get, like the volume. It took Neil breaking a 75-yard touchdown run to finally kind of get to have a big day. So it's just another one of those situations where nothing's really changed for his situation to continue to have big games. It's just more so the game kind of broke that way for him to have it. So you're taking more of a chance on that happening again, which is something we don't necessarily like to do in fantasy. Like you want some more stuff that's going to be consistent, and his price did increase, so a little bit harder to play him this week. I do think that there is a good running back play in this game. That Ollie Gordon on Oklahoma State. Um, I know you've already kind of talked about him a little bit, or we were talking before the show, but um, yeah, been handling a lot of carries last 2 weeks, and Kansas rush defense isn't the best. They looked pretty good last week, but even Harvey for UCF did end up getting there. So I think he's a pretty safe play. Um, Not sure on his upside. He definitely get in the 20s range, something like that. But he's probably one of the better plays on this slate. Just a matter if you can fit him and make it work. But yeah, Ollie Gordon's in a good spot. And I do think you've got some value on the Oklahoma State receiving side as well. I think Jaden Bray is in play. You just never kind of know what kind of upside you're getting from these Oklahoma State receivers. There could be one that pops off. They have a lot of dudes they do rotate around, but him and that Rashad Owens, he stepped in for what's his name, Stribling, that's out, and they lost him for the season, so he's going to be out again this week. And played almost all the snaps there. So I think Owens is at 3,500 is probably one of the better values on this slate. But it's chalk you don't feel entirely for sure about, but at the same time it's 3,500. So it doesn't kill you if he just catches a couple or something like that. Because Bowman, you're taking a chance on someone's got to still get him the ball, and Bowman's not looked very good at all. So you're dealing with that. But like I said, 3,500 though, you could do a whole lot worse.
Yeah, no, I was just looking. I overlooked Owens, so at 3,500, that seems like a real good price. Yeah, I'm with you. We did talk about Ollie Gordon. I think he's a great play at 6,200. Just for this slate. I mean, if it was last week, that's what's crazy is last week we had all these running backs in the 6K range that were just in the nut spot. So seeing Gordon here is like one of the best options. It's hard to get excited. It was uh, I don't know. They just did a good job pricing. Like last week, Bucky Irving would have been 6K. That's kind of what we're comparing it to. But yeah, I do think Gordon's a great
Yeah,
play. Just trying to see if we missed
yeah,
anybody. I mentioned
and
Bean.
I just
Any love
went,
for
yeah.
him?
I mean, he's in a pretty good bounce back spot. And should kind of be kind of under owned, overlooked a little bit, but I doubt I get there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I did want to double check on that. But yeah, Owens played 83% of the snaps last week. So for a guy playing that much at 3,500 against not a very good defense, that's definitely one of your top value plays on this slate.
Yeah. No, I have a big star by his name because we're gonna need that value. Um, So finally, this is probably the most exciting game, one of the most exciting games we've had all year. Uh, we have Washington versus Oregon, 67 over under, which is just massive. Washington's 3 3 point favorites. We have two amazing quarterbacks with Bo Nix and Penix. Uh, man,
And who?
they're expensive though. Is it Phoenix? Penix?
Penis.
Penis. Yes, sir. Uh, but they're. I've been trying to mess around with builds with both of them, but man, I don't like anything I'm coming up with.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have to choose one or the other. You know who I'm riding with, my boy Bo. What about you? And then just go ahead and kind of get into this game.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough because you want pieces of this game, but man, that salary stacks up quickly whenever you throw a couple pieces in here. So it's going to be interesting how builds come out because I think it's going to take some ownership off some of these guys too because you just can't play them all. Like I do think that about every team I have, I'm going to have probably at least two pieces from it, but I'd honestly I'd like to have more, but I'm just not sure how I can do it. I think the kind of the build that I've been looking at is going Penix and probably McMillan at receiver, just because he's a little bit cheaper. And I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for injury, he could be priced up there up there to the top. So he's a stud. And then I do like going Bo because Bo does give you some rushing upside, but I think I like some of these Oregon running backs. We've yet to see, Whittington was kind of their second running back that's been playing this year. He's now out for the season. So we don't really know how they're going to attack this running back room, if they're going to keep it a two-man or not keep it a two-man, but keep it a three-man and just bring in another guy, or if they just let Bucky and Jordan James kind of just lead the backfield. I'm hoping that's the case because I think both of these running backs, if that's the case, will be firmly in play. Especially in a bigger game, sometimes you don't really want to experiment with a new guy. So I think Bucky is probably my favorite running back play on the slate. He is pricey, and sometimes a touchdown equity is not necessarily there. Had a couple games where he didn't get in the end zone, but he brings some upside in the passing game. Just a pretty good play. And then Jordan James as well. He should be getting a few more looks now. And he's kind of the opposite of Bucky. Like, he's the kind of guy, he's found the end zone in every game this season. He's had a game with 3 touchdowns, a game with 2. And, he didn't score in the Texas Tech game, so that's the only game he hasn't scored. But definitely has the knack for finding the end zone. And you do get some, about $2K salary relief there. So, like both of those guys. And then at receiver, Troy Franklin, he's a stud, and it's one of those situations where we know exactly who Bo Nix is wanting to go to, and he's going to get it to him. So it's just a matter if you think he can pay off the 8-1 tag. I'm going to try my best to try to get him in there, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough at 8-1 because it's almost like Blake Corum type situation with him. I just see him catching a long one, 30, 40 yards, and it's just, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of paying 8-1 for him.
So Bo might absolutely just nuke this slate the more I think about it.
I think
we've been waiting all year for him to take these rushing touchdowns, and he keeps handing off, which is probably why you like. That's why James has so many damn touchdowns.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, I put in my article that if one of these quarterbacks has a huge game and wins the ball game, especially on Bo Nix going to Washington, I saw a stat where he's in road matchups against top 10 teams, he's 0-6 or 0-7. So he's kind of got that stigma about him that he can't win on the road in these big games. So this is a big spot for him, and if he comes out here and throws for 300, runs a couple in, counts for 3, 4, 5 touchdowns, how do you not just put him up already to the top, towards the Heisman? So either quarterback can make a huge leap if they're actually trying to chase that in a game like this, because stats are obviously important, but if these big game moments is what gets the hype for this Heisman race, and there's still plenty of weeks left to kind of keep doing that. So I think both these quarterbacks have a good shot of jumping up the boards for the Heisman and making a good case, and I think that's going to be in the back of both of their minds.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% just, I was kind of borderline on Bo anyways, but just the more we've talked about the slate and the more it's just all coming together for me. Yeah, I think Bo's going to be the guy running in my 3-3-3 team today. But it's like you were talking. Can you afford to pair him with Franklin? Um, with me going Bo, I'm honestly kind of projecting him to run or maybe two in. I think he could possibly eclipse 40 DK points in this one, which is he did multiple times last year. I think I know at least a couple. Um, so that's kind of the route I'm going. I'm gonna have to find a receiver to pair him with when I start building. Don't know if it's gonna be Franklin or not. Hopefully, I can get to him. Uh, so for a man to do that, running the back for the Washington side, any interest in Polk, or was that because McMillan was out?
No, Polk is firmly in play. He's been there. He's their number 3 guy. Even kind of stayed in that role with McMillan out. He just kind of got a few more looks. But yeah,
Okay.
Polk's in play. It's kind of a little bit of a cheaper way to kind of get some exposure there. Bernard is the guy that's kind of the one that gets the biggest knock with McMillan coming back. He kind of filled in for that role. So yeah, that Polk is a good way to kind of get some exposure to this game. But it's just like I think I'd rather just pay another 900 and get to McMillan. But
So do you rank
if you can't, Polk's not a bad play at all.
do you rank it? I know I think in your article you had it ranked, but I don't have it pulled up. Is it McMillan, Ozunia, or Odunzi, and Polk, or however you say his last name?
Yeah, just for price, I think so. Yeah, and that's the thing about it is, there's a very real possibility that Phoenix just spreads it around, and none of these receivers really get to that mark they need to pay off their salaries. So I mean, for a passing quarterback that like Phoenix, like you feel kind of dumb, if you don't play one of their receivers. But I mean, there's a chance that you could play him, and if he throws it to each one of them, and he gets all the yards and the touchdowns, and one of these receivers, I mean, they could still be hot, but maybe not get exactly what they need.
Yeah.
Um, there's a world where the play is to play Phoenix by himself. I don't think I'll do it, but I can see a scenario where that does happen. And even a guy that I kind of stumbled on here a little bit later is this Westover, their tight end. He's been catching touchdowns for him, and he's 4K. Um, the volume's not there, but he had a game earlier this year where he had 25. He had a game where he had 16. At 4K to get exposure to this game, I don't hate it at all. Especially if because they use him more down in the red zone. So if it's kind of a more of a grinded out game and they get down there, he could definitely catch one or two.
No, I love that call. Man, it's gonna be such an interesting slate because trying to build a game stack with this game. I mean, obviously the best game. It's borderline impossible to get more than, like you said, 2 to 3 pieces. I'd love to have about four, but man, that everyone's just priced appropriately. Uh, but moving on, we have Texas A&M and Tennessee. It is a 54.5 over under. Tennessee's minus 3 point favorites. You're probably gonna have to lead the way on this one because I'll be honest, Tennessee's not been on a lot of the main slates, and I haven't been able to keep up with them. I have got to watch Texas A&M a few weeks, but what's going on with Milton? All I've heard is how good this guy's going to be, and I haven't really heard much this year about him.
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about. Milton's he's just not the guy. There's a reason he's kind of been around college football for so long. Has all the tools you need to be a great quarterback, but just you don't have the touch. He got a rocket arm, but he could throw a 7-yard out and just almost knock the guy down trying to get it out to him. So I don't know. I think this game's very sneaky though. Easily could kind of shoot out. We saw earlier this year with A&M, they played Miami, and Miami got up on them early, and it sped A&M up, and they ended up having, a few just monster plays. So if Tennessee's clicking on offense, which they're fully capable of doing with how their offense is set up, if Milton's hitting on the deep balls, this game could easily shoot out. So I think it's definitely more, especially on the Tennessee side, it's more attacking the passing game. I think Milton makes for a great GPP play. You could add, Keaton is the most expensive one, and he's your true boomer bust. Like he could catch 2 long ones, or he could also drop a long one, or Milton could overthrow him by 20 yards. So, um, but I don't mind taking the chance there. I think Squirrel White is probably the safest play of the receiver room. Kind of gives you a little bit of both, but he's kind of more your underneath guy. So don't mind that. And then we're still not sure on who's going to take in this third receiver role. Not even really third receiver role, but take over for Brew McCoy, who they lost for the season. That Dante Thornton Jr. is a guy from Oregon, had a lot of hype coming in this year and just has been a little bit banged up and just hadn't really found his footing yet in this offense. So I think he may get the first crack at it. But this Caleb Webb also is kind of filled in for Brew when he came out of the game last week. So unless we get some clarification on that, it's going to be kind of hard to take a chance on one of those unless you're doing just, making multiple teams. Don't have much love for the Tennessee running backs. They just run 3 guys, and so it's tough to kind of go there, especially with their price. A&M side's interesting. I think Max Johnson is 6,500, so gives you some salary relief there. He definitely likes to sling the ball around and has some very talented receivers. I've been high on Evan Stewart, all year, and he struggled with Max Johnson, which has been a surprise because I think Max Johnson may be a little bit of an upgrade over Wigman throwing the ball, but just hasn't been looking at Stewart as much, and they've been rotating guys in. But I think it's a very, very good GPP play. Like I think I'm going to make a $20 team just to kind of have that in there because I think Evan Stewart's going to come in under 5%, especially at his price because it's like you could get the Oregon or Washington guys in at that, and the talent's just too good not to finally kind of get there. So Stewart there, Anais Smith is probably going to be one of the more popular plays on the slate, 4,900, and has been Max Johnson's favorite target since taking over. So a very good play there. And even Noah Thomas is kind of a situation with Stewart. He had some big games early in the year, and now since Max Johnson took over, he just kind of disappeared. But a bigger receiver, I think like 6'5", but he moves well, very talented receiver, but just kind of hard to take a chance, especially with Anais Smith being priced right there next to him. So Anais Smith's probably my favorite play in this game. But I also have some love for the running back, Le'Veon Moss. It kind of looks like he's taken over the starting role for him. And 5,300 is a good price. Like I said, it's kind of that price range that we've got some interesting plays in. So, yeah, I like Anais Smith and Le'Veon Moss, probably the best in this game, and then take a chance on Milton with one of the receivers.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think this game's gonna go completely overlooked. I'm finally getting a chance to dig in, and I think you make for a good stack. You think
Yeah.
A&M can beat Tennessee? I know you're not super high on Tennessee as far as being like an actual good team.
Yeah, it's tough playing at Neyland too. So, I mean, I think I actually like Tennessee to win this game. It's just a matter of kind of how these offenses are clicking because they can both be real good or both be real bad. Like the consistency is really not neither one of their strong suits. Like it's a boom or bust on both sides.
Well, we have 2 games left. Pretty much one game because I couldn't imagine playing anybody in the very last game outside of maybe a running back. But we have Illinois against Maryland, 51.5 over under. Maryland's 13.5 point favorites. Is this the first week all year where Tua may be a little chalky, or Tua's brother rather?
He could get some ownership, for sure because Illinois is just so bad. I mean, they're real bad. There is some weather concerns here too, which kind of makes a ding for the passing attack. And I wish we had a little bit more like Maryland's passing, like the receivers. There's just, it could be one week, and I think
It's always been
yeah, they just have so many guys. I think Felton. That was a week before he had the 41-point game. So yeah, but I mean, if you want to do that route, I don't mind it at all. Deshaun Jones is kind of probably your most consistent one that you can feel the most safe about going. They all got pretty good prices too. Jones, Felton, Prather, um, all in good prices. All have good opportunities here. Corey Duchess is the tight end. He popped for a big game to start the year, and he's kind of been quiet since. But 3,900 is not bad for that as well. So you have a few options here. I don't think the running back rooms. It's another one of those situations where Hemby was kind of the guy early on, but there's three guys that could all start the game and it could finish the game. So it's just you want a little bit more clarification on who's going to be the guy on a slate like this. So if you're wanting to use Maryland, I would just go quarterback. Go with Talia and try to pair him up with one of these receivers. And then Illinois, there's some interesting plays here because we do need some value. Altmaier's not too expensive. Does provide some rushing upside. Maryland's defense has been pretty decent though this year, so it's not like it's just a great matchup. But yeah, he's in play. Fegan should be the last man standing in this running back room. They've had two guys. McCray's out, and if Reggie Love is he's doubtful right now. And if he misses, Fegan's definitely in play at 4,500. Big talented freshman. When I say big, I think he's like 6'3", a big dude. So definitely could find the end zone. And at 4,500, you want a little more than just a touchdown. But he's probably one of my favorite value plays at running back. But like if we do get the Ohio State news, which I've not seen quite yet, I think I'd rather just go up a little bit more and play Chip. And which it does look like. Let's see. Yeah, they're just saying he's warming up. Henderson is and looking good. So who knows with all that. And then also the last piece for Illinois is Isaiah Williams. I think he'll get some ownership, a decent price for Altmaier's favorite receiver. And you look at his game logs. He's not had a game this year under 10 points. So definitely a safe play that you can do there.
Yeah, no, that's a good price for him too. I mean, just thinking, how low owned are these expensive running backs going to come in? Corum and Allen.
Oh, I mean, under 5%, 3% probably.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so though, because I was trying to talk myself into building the team with them, but I already talked myself out of it. But speaking of expensive running backs, last game of the slate, Iowa versus Wisconsin, a whopping 34.5 over under. Wisconsin's 9.5 point favorites. And yeah, to me, it's pretty cut and dry. It's if you want to play Allen, I guess maybe you can make a case for it. He's going to be low owned, 8,300. It's just, I swear at this price tag, I think you're needing 150 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I do think there's more of a route for Allen than there is a guy like Corum, even though Corum's in a great matchup and everything like that. And I do want to note on that, your boy for Michigan got ruled out. Mullings, what's his name? Third running
really?
back. Yeah, Mullings is out. So I think it kind of makes Donovan Edwards, which is a guy that we've played in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to him. They've just kind of phased him out a little bit. And he's just not. But I mean, I think it makes him a little interesting, but still nothing that I'm just going to be jumping to play. But don't play Mullings if you were making a team with us here and threw him in there earlier because he is out. But yeah, Braylon Allen, I do think that there's we saw last week since Masalu was out that he didn't get too many more carries than what he normally got. So the boost wasn't as as great as what we thought. But this is going to be a slow, ugly game. I could see Allen pretty much having all the offensive production for Wisconsin, and if that's the case, if they win this game 14-6 or something, he could have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, like you said. So, I would, if you're asking me between Corum and Allen, I would play Braylon Allen. Even though we know for sure, like I think because it's wild. I think Braylon Allen's touchdown was right around. I think it's like minus 135, or it might even been plus money. I think it's minus 135 though. So I mean, nothing crazy for a guy that's the talent that he has and the role he has. So I was just they're solid defense, and offense is just so bad. It's hard to want to play anything in this game, but Allen's probably the only thing I would have any interest in.
No, I agree. So yeah, just nothing really else for me to touch on. Uh, I'm excited for the slate. Like I said, this ownership, I can't wait to see who comes in high owned. We have just an hour before lock. Do you want to build a team real quick and then us get out of here?
Yeah, we can do that. How um how wild are we making it? Like, what are we wanting to build it for?
The $20 one. So I'm gonna throw it in. So I mean, we either gonna try to take down 50K or not cash. Fine with me.
100K.
Oh, it is 100K. Yeah, I forgot.
It's a big one. Yeah. So what are you thinking here? I'll let you start.
Well, I want to say Bo, but part of me wants to just go back. So I'm gonna let you decide.
Ooh, Beck. Huh. So I mean, if you go Beck, I'm assuming you're wanting to go Bowers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, let's do it. We can either this the thing is like we can either do that, or we can try to go Milton at $100 more.
Yeah, no, I like Milton. We were talking about that Georgia game, and
No, fuck it. You've been running hot. I don't know. You didn't tout yourself much in some Discord, but last night you just had your bets were just. I'm not even sure how you stumbled on some of them, but I mean, you even jumping on Stanford, early on and got that right, and hit some on that, hit some on some wild receiving props in college last night with Vaughn and Weaver, and then you even fucking took down a hockey bet that AJ and chat gave us all, and somehow you were the only one that won one off of it. So I still don't know how that worked out, but yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
let's just do it. Maybe the kid's still hot, so we'll go back and we'll throw Bowers in there. And let's see. So 56. I mean, it's going to be tough to try to get. We might just have to go maybe running backs in that. That's what we might do. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go that Dylan Johnson for Washington
okay.
and go James for Oregon. So that's going to give us exposure to that game. And we're not going to run it back with any Vandy piece. What's one of your cheaper values that you like?
Hold on, let me get you and James, right?
Yeah.
James and Johnson. Let's see. It's gonna need to be receiver.
Yeah, or even running back because we got a flex spot. We can move one of these guys down.
Well, a lot of it's gonna be on that news that we're waiting on. I have it wrote down here. Because Mullins was gonna be my guy. Let me see here. And then you said that Henderson is warming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, what about this? No, I hate to do that. Having the running back, I don't want to. I don't want to throw in West. Westover. How about? I mean, how much is your boy Squirrel?
And he's
Okay.
like 6'1". Yeah.
Yeah, that's not as cheap. Who's your favorite cheap guy? I mean, there's two or three of them, but I don't feel overly confident on one over the other.
Yeah, I mean, you can go. We could go the dude for Oklahoma State, the receiver, Owens.
Yeah. Yep. See, that was the name I was trying to find earlier. There it is.
Okay, so that's 3,500. And then, do we want to go a cheaper quarterback, or do we want to try to go more of an expensive one and then try to get some value in here.
That quarterback, that next spot's all you. You already let me pick one, and I chose Beck, so I don't need to pick another one.
You know who I'm thinking then?
Yeah.
Let's go Milrow. We're going to load up. Everyone's going to be loading up in these late games. We're going to load up on the early games.
Be a fun screenshot for a little bit.
So, yeah.
Before the Oregon game starts.
So we'll go Milrow.
And Bond, right?
We could. Let's see. If we go Bond, I was hoping to kind of get one of those 51, 52 running backs in here, but 4,900.
Yeah,
we could go. We could go Anais Smith.
Yeah. Or I mean, I know you like Milrow for his rushing upside, so we don't have to pair him with the receiver.
You could go your boy Knoblack. 3,700 if he catches one. That gives us 6,900.
Yeah, no, on a slate like this, I think that's a great play. See, I'm happy you mentioned him because I really do like him. I'm not gonna try to say his name, but
yeah. And then do we go, since everything else has been kind of wild, do we just go Ollie Gordon there
and leave
the running back for Oklahoma State and go 2?
Oh man, you're gonna leave. I would just say go Coleman almost, but I don't think it's a smart move. But I like me some Coleman.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. I mean, that's definitely going to be
just because with this now,
it's to take down 100K. So I mean,
yeah, just with old Johnny
out. Let's move Owens to the flex just because he's the only guy that's going to be going late, and then go Keon at receiver, and then Owens in the flex. And just like that, we're all going to be splitting 100K.
I accidentally put in the 3-3-3 and ruin my day.
That's probably what you should do.
I know.
The more you sit there and dwell on a big team and try to make everything perfect, it's always the team you just make with what you feel. But no, I mean, this team is pretty wild. I mean, ownership's going to be, I mean, Bowers may be the most owned guy on the team.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a fun sweat for a little bit. It's going to give us that team right there gives us something to do for the early games while I wait for the
there we go
afternoon games to get started. But
no, I'm ready to hop off here. We got to get some of these teams made, and before lock, anyone jump in on Discord. We'll be in there answering any questions. Hopefully, maybe providing some more news here before lock. So. Yeah, come check us out there. And got anything else to add, Ben?
No, sounds good. Like I said, I'll be in Discord with you. I know we're going to chat after this and be making some teams. So
yeah, and we got plenty. Yeah, we got plenty of promotions going on. With 4 Deep right now. So check out our Twitter. We got plenty of some spots there. Tommy's always posting stuff. We got the bets. The betting side's just been ridiculous. I know where this is a DFS show, but plenty of opportunities to attack the betting side as well. So come check us out.
And use code what's it, Dmar 20, isn't it, right, to get 20% off?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't beat that. But yeah, let's go. Like I said, we'll be around, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yep, peace.
Yeah.